I'm Irene Sacalato with Osprey Photo Workshops and Tours. I'm a nature photographer and have been for approximately 40 years. My favorite topic to photograph, however, is wildlife. That's what I'm going to talk about today and through a series of programs. I'm an educator. I teach photo workshops in a number of locations, including West Virginia mountains, Tangier Island, Outer Banks. I do photo tours. Newfoundland Island is one of my next photo tours. It's in July of this coming year. I work with small groups, 8 people or less. And in the case of the Newfoundland tour, it's 2 tours with 3 people each. I do Zoom programs for a number of camera clubs and organizations. And if you go to my website, www.ospreyphoto.com, you'd be able to sign up for my free newsletter that comes out periodically. You also can see some of the blogs that I have that have information on technique and locations, and also you can see my schedule of photo workshops. It has a lot of detail there. As I say, this is about wildlife photography. I want to help you capture the most engaging wildlife images you can. So first I'm going to talk about just selecting a subject. Other topics that'll come up in future programs include those in that list. What am I looking for in an image? I'm looking for something more than just a portrait. I wanted to tell a story through that image. I want to show habitat and the relationship of the subject to that habitat. I want things that are unique, unexpected, something to engage the audience. I do enjoy documenting things that happen too fast for the eye to capture. But the camera can. Take a look at the dowitcher. If you'd go to a field guide, you would believe that that dowitcher has a rigid bill, it's straight, it can't be manipulated in any way. However, if you look at the image, the camera was able to capture the fact that the end of the bill is flexible. It actually has tactile sensors, and as it probes the substrate looking for food, it can actually use those sensors to feel around, pick up the food, and eat it. I like humor in pictures, and I like pictures that elicit emotional response. If you want to talk about an environmental picture, you can certainly see the environment of this moose. He's living in a wooded area, but also in an area where there are roads, and you need to be careful when you're driving, or if you hit one of these, it's not going to be very good for you or car or for the moose. The lower picture shows Cape St. Mary's Ecological Reserve. This is called The Rock. The picture is all about the environment here with the birds as a secondary subject. It shows a relationship that every year these birds return to the same rock, thousands upon thousands. The first picture is of an oyster catcher, American oyster catcher, one of my favorite birds. It shows something that I don't typically see in other pictures. I don't even typically see when I'm exactly looking at the bird, but it's that black fleck in its eye. It's not another pupil. There's a lot of debate goes on about what it actually is, but it's in most of the birds. The picture of the rabbit there, he was sitting on the ground. This was at Assateague Island, and he was eating, and then he hops up on the bottom rung of a fence rail, and he sits there, and I take some pictures because he's sitting and eating, and it's really cute, and I want to take full advantage of the situation, and then he stands up, and I felt that that was absolutely incredible. That blew my mind, and I certainly took more pictures of that, but the picture to me is special because it shows this particular behavior that I don't often see with the rabbit and other people wouldn't expect. The puffin, well, I think of puffins using their wings to fly or move through the water, but I don't think of puffins using their wing as some kind of support that they can use when they're scratching. The cormorant over there, I saw him with this fish, and I said, there's no way he's going to be able to swallow that. This is where patience comes into play. I waited. I needed to see what was going to happen. And lo and behold, yes, he can swallow that fish. His esophagus will expand and the fish can drop down into the stomach. The lower picture shows something I find quite unusual, I'll probably never see again. and that is a heron trying to eat a small, tiny baby terrapin. I didn't think he was going to be able to eat it and swallow it. So I watched, and I watched for a long period of time as he moved that little turtle around in his bill, grabbed it by the flipper, he dropped it once, he picked it back up again. Eventually, he swallowed it. It was worth the wait to grab a number of pictures of this whole process and actually see what happened. The upper picture was taken at Cape St. Mary's in Newfoundland, and it shows two adult northern gannets. The one on top is a male, and he's trying to mate with the lower one, which is a female, but it shows the behavior and how aggressively he's grabbing the neck of the female. I don't think I want to be that female. We have some other aggressive action here when you take a look at the turns. The one turn grabbed the other by the bill, threw it down on the ground, and it reminds me of wrestling, waiting for that count of 10. Again, I'm not sure what the meaning was, whether it was territorial, etc. But it shows behavior that's unusual. So is the behavior down below. Usually you think of puffins as cute little tiny birds that hop around, have burrows, maybe sit on a rock, etc. But I don't expect them to engage in any kind of physical altercation. And in the case of these fellas, they certainly did. It went on for a period of time. He had the one down on the ground. I don't know what the meaning of it was, but I don't care. It shows a behavior that you don't typically see. Could have been something prelude to courtship, could have been something related to mating. More than likely, it was something maybe territorial. Herons. You often see herons sitting on a branch, and they just sit there, and it's not a very exciting picture. And I saw this heron, and I thought, I'm going to wait and see what happens. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I'm sitting there going, I ought to go and do something. Nah, I'm going to stick with it. Patience is real important. So I stuck with it, and eventually he stretched out that wing, and not only did he stretch out that wing, he stretched out that leg. And the picture is special to me because the leg is superimposed in front of the wing. This may be prelude to moving his position, flying to another branch, etc. I really don't know. The two oyster catchers. Oyster catchers tend to be very territorial. They don't like intruders, and certainly this one was not happy with the other one because he chased it all the way up on the shore. Again, a very unusual picture you don't see. The lower picture is one of them. Ah, isn't that so cute? It's a piping plover, very delicately preening, picking up just one little feather and straightening it out and taking care of his feathers because they're very important for his survival. He's one of the endangered species. The upper picture shows tension, an encounter between two animals. The first one on the one side is a young fox, and we have a groundhog there, and they are in a face-off, basically. This was actually part of a video, and I know what happens next. The groundhog advances slightly, kind of a stupid thing to do, and then he gets smart, and he runs for cover, and the young fox just sits there and looks. The lower picture of these ospreys, I like the diagonal of this grass coming into the nest. It's kind of like a leading line. I like the fact that the one osprey is sitting there going, I don't know, I don't think that's going to fit in the nest. Why did you bring this? But patience rewards. They actually both worked on that piece of grass, and eventually it was placed in the nest quite neatly. I like humor. I certainly enjoyed seeing these two prairie dogs engaged in play. When I go to a prairie dog town, I like it in the spring when you have the young prairie dogs running around chasing each other. But they often do this particular behavior, which I do not understand, but I find humorous, is that they pick up the tail of another young prairie dog and they nibble on it. What that served in terms of a purpose, I have no idea. There's a lot of factors that help you take great wildlife photographs. Equipment's one of them, but it's just one of them. You can spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on equipment, but you really don't have to. You need some basic equipment, obviously. But you need a lot of other things. You need to do your research. You need to check the web. You need to talk to other people. You need to observe wildlife. You want to learn about the wildlife behavior, about what habitat it's in and how it interacts with that habitat, why it's there. You need knowledge about your equipment. You need to practice a lot. You don't want to have to lower the camera to make changes in the settings. You want to be able to leave it up to your eye. And again, you need to know things about your subject, so you carefully observe them when you're working with them. You're accumulating information that you possibly can use later when you encounter this animal in another place. But you certainly are often able to anticipate what actually is going to happen, and that's useful for you to get great pictures. You got focus. You've got to focus. You need concentration. Things around you should not distract you. If they do distract you, usually you miss the image that you wanted. I am a curious person, and that helps me. It helps me identify subjects. It helps me stay with them and try to figure out what they're going to do, why they're doing it, and so forth. And patience is really important, as I've mentioned earlier. You can have an animal that you wait with maybe 20 minutes for it to finally do something. Or you might wait a day, or you might set up a blind and you might be there for several days trying to get that special photograph. Or maybe you didn't get it this year. Maybe you come back on another time, another year, to try to capture the specific thing that you're after. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on wildlife photography. It's going to be followed by another series of programs, anything from lighting to equipment to anticipating action, etc. I certainly enjoyed being with you. I certainly enjoyed putting the program together. I hope you take the time to go look at my website, www.ospreyphoto.com. And I hope to see you again in some of my other programs that'll be coming up. Hopefully they will be interesting to you and help you improve your photography. You have a great time and go out there and take those great pictures. Enjoy wildlife.